Last time, after settling a rather childish and immature bet, Gabriel. About a week has passed, and what are you doing?
Ooh. Realistically, I would think Gabriel's been spending most of the time at what passes for their physician.
Physica.
Yes, the physiker. He had sustained several different injuries, so hasn't necessarily been up to snuff. So mostly getting wounds treated.
And as you leave, the ointments and salves still stinging slightly. Stepping back out onto the streets of Crowsfoot. Is there anywhere you would like to go?
Ooh. There is part of him that actually wants to go to Six Towers. He wants to see exactly how heavy the blue coat presence is around the old train car.
Making the fairly long journey across the city, and eventually arriving in Six Towers, marked by the tumble-down buildings, the derelict signs, and large sheets saying "Do not enter," condemned, that hang down off the front of many of the establishments here. You reach the old rickety fence. Looking through this and looking down the street, there's certainly not many blue coats. There's not many people, in fact. Looking through the chain links, you see several of the old rail cars sealed to the tracks where they've rusted in place.
Well, given that there doesn't seem to be anybody around, Gabriel gets a quick wonder in his brain and actually would begin to approach the train car. Obviously keeping an eye out, for anybody or anything that might, want to cause him harm or try to keep him away. He's not necessarily looking to get injured again.
In the misty rain, you are aware that the temperature drops a few degrees, and your breath begins to mist in front of your mouth.
All of that is honestly somewhat to be expected, but figuring that if it is what Gabriel is expecting it to be, he's not in any real danger in this particular situation. So he's gonna make his way directly to the train car, and again, assuming nobody's there to stop him, he's gonna check to see if the old supplies are still around. Specifically, the old safe.
Make me a fortune roll, please.
Fair enough. Would not be surprising if it isn't.
Oh, it is in place, and still looks to be. You can see the multiple dents and scorches around the side, where somebody's evidently found it and tried to break in. And looking around at the possessions you used to have, a lot of them have been lifted from the site. It's a lot emptier than when you left it.
Once again, fully expected. Gabriel is gonna try the old combination, so to speak, to get the safe open.
And it hasn't been changed. It creaks open. Little click.
Now, there's always the chance that it was broken into and there's nothing inside of it, which is what I fully expect here. But, you know, Gabriel would be curious because there was coin stashed in there at one point.
And, let's have a look. Where's the...
I think it was full. Yeah, it was.
Timo.
I'll let you run with that however you want.
You did all right. So we'll say that in the although it's technically all in the vault, some of it was in possessions which weren't in there, but you still managed to take 3 coin away that you had secured.
Honestly, after Gabriel is somewhat very surprised, but he pockets the coin. I mean, it's rightfully his and Brolin's to begin with, so... And honestly just begins to make his way around the city. Basically, what most would consider a leisurely afternoon stroll.
Fair enough. And yeah, as you leave, you're aware, just glancing back over your shoulder, you're aware of a misty form dispersing into the night.
Gabriel doesn't normally wear a hat, but as he kind of turns and sees that, he does, you know, at least make the gesture of tipping his hat.
And with that, the temperature rises again. And there's a moment where you have a cold shiver down your spine, as despite your familiarity, there's still something a little bit unsettling about being in the presence of a ghost. And as you become a gentleman of leisure for the remainder of the day, Lottie, there is a spot in Char Hollow that you've been tipped off about an outstanding bounty. It's been there for some time, and occasionally you get a sighting. Quite often it turns up a red herring for a Scotland activist, let's say, a former military man who is now on the run for crimes against the Empire, and occasionally you get tip-offs to a location. This is Corbin. So yeah, finding yourself in Char Hollow and chasing one of these leads. What would you like to do?
Before that, have I heard of this person?
It's whenever you go into any one of the precincts, any one of the locations, the independent brokers who put out bounties, there's usually a wanted sign on the sort of notice board. One of those ones that there's usually a few, but he's one of those recurring faces.
Okay. Well, I think Lottie is going firstly to try to gather intel on where was he seen in the district lately? There are any particular spots where he was?
There is. Well, the last thing you heard was due to a tip-off of a fight that broke out in Saltpire, in the southwest of the district. The decided loser of set 2 ended up sort of giving a description to the Bluecoats, and from there, people have put 2 and 2 together and recognised the description to match that of Corbin.
This gentleman a little courtesy visit?
Who would you like to pay a visit to? Sorry.
The said loser of the fight.
Oh, okay, yeah. That is one Isaac Elmore, who a very, very low key, two-bit thug, runs with a few Bravos gangs. Hired muscle, but not the most effective. More talk than anything else. And as you arrive at his home, which is located in Char Hollow as well, slightly further north, in the Commons, just north of Char Hollow Market. He opens the door, and you see that one eye has been welted shut, and his nose is decidedly, while you can tell from the multiple bumps, it's probably been broken a few times, there is a very fresh break on it, and there's 2 wads of cotton wool shoved up his nose. Just eyeballs you with his one good eye.
You shall take that to a physician and do something about it. Looks pretty nasty.
I've had worse. His
bet
voice
you
is slightly, the usually quite rough voice, kind of offset with a very nasal tone.
I bet you did, but it would be a shame if some people there begin to think at this as an opportunity.
Oh. Okay, yeah, I suppose. Get some salves, whatever. But then, I suppose, you win some, you lose some, right?
Tell me, pal, the guy who did that to you,
Well,
what
Bluecoats showed up after a bit. They got involved. They managed to get me on the ground, whereas he landed a pretty accurate and swift kick to the crotch of one of them. And as he went down, other guy went off. Skullblender. He was couple of scars. Looked a bit rough and ready, but
I heard that. I'm more interested in what did he want with you? What did start the fight?
well, I'd got myself a little. See him. He looks up and down the street, and he's. Well, I got myself on a little protection racket. Just there was a guy who was moving some stuff for this lady. I don't know. She was. He kind of shudders at the memory of her. Bit of a curious one, you know. So anyway, we're moving something across town. Told to leave it dead drop in night market that they'd come and get it. Anyway, he makes his appearance, fires a couple of shots. The guy I'd be partnered up with, he runs for it, and well, I'm protection. I'm supposed to engage, so I do. 10 minutes later, somebody's weaseled, and there's the whistles, and there's the dogs, and there's the bluecoats, and they're all coming down on us. And yeah, from there it just goes a little bit blurry. I mean, I've got a couple of. We had a bit of a set too, but put it this way, this is not just his doing.
Yeah. Interesting. Can you give me that lady's name by chance?
Well, she was. She didn't give a last name or anything like that. She just told us her name was Vay. Weird sort.
Yeah. And well, I hope she paid you well for your troubles.
Well, it's half on completion. We haven't finished it yet. Don't know what happened to the other one. He was, like I say, didn't seem like we was delivering much. It was just this little brown parcel. Don't know why there was such interest in it.
You're working with other people, right?
But like I say, there's the fella I was partnered up with. He was the one who was moving it. I was just bought it as a little bit of protection, security. Not good, I did.
A chance where I could find it. Sometimes materials are not the targets people are. I wouldn't know that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the one we
have a name or description?
Nothing. It was the lady herself. She was the one who set us up. Said she didn't reveal any details about anyone else. Names we need to know. Safer that way. Like I say, when the Bluecoats were working me over, I could only tell them about the fella that attacked me. I didn't know anything about the guy that was moving it. Kept a mask on, thing over his mouth, hood. He was quiet.
That makes things more difficult. Well, thank you for your time. I hope you will find better deals in the future.
Like I say, you win some, you lose some. Be back in the game in a week or so.
Have a nice rest, I guess, gentlemen.
I'll try.
I'm going to leave and find any indication about that other person that was involved. I can. Maybe
asking around
to the fight or.
Okay. Asking around and going further south. Oh, excuse me. Further south to Saltpire, where the incident took place. Speaking to some of the locals, they're a lot more. There's a real sense of community in Jar Hollow. A lot of people they struggle by, but they're there for one another when it matters. And just speaking to a few of the residents in the area, they give you a description, and apparently, as soon as things started happening, he took off, running further north and towards Bridge Road and Market Bridge, to the northwest of the district, completely the opposite way to the way he was supposed to be going.
Okay. I'll see if I can track him down.
Ooh, I'm going to say, given that he was masked and hooded and all sorts of things, I'm going to say make me a check, but limited effect.
Okay.
Ah, darn. hoping for
Why?
desperate.
It's not a desperate action because
It is pretty desperate. Tracking somebody with a
Yeah.
mask.
it's just that the consequences at this stage don't really match up. So it's just that very. But it's sort of more of a control position because you're doing the investigation in your own time.
He just doesn't want to give us the XP.
Ooh,
What do you get?
6.
6 and 5.
Oh, okay. So, with the 6, you do get an angle of inquiry, which is going to involve talking to 2 people who seem to be a little bit more informed as to who this was. However, both of them, both the figures that you pointed in the way of, wear a similar blue and white striped shirts under various layers of jackets and leather vests. These are Billhooks, a notoriously violent gang.
I mean, it's not like I'm trying to disturb the business. And just have a nice chat.
And as you approach, you sort of get you're pointed in the direction. You're sort of told to ask after these two, and then asking around. You're pointed on, and you end up with Lenny, and you're pointed in the direction of Lenny and Sabina. And as you go down this very, very narrow, very dark alleyway, you can see them with another figure. They're crouched over. Looks like they're playing dice.
I'm gonna wait a little bit until they finish their game.
It's
Politely.
they don't finish the game, but they look. You see one of them look towards you, and you can't quite make out who it is in the shadows. Gets the attention of the others, and looks back, and then this voice kind of echoes out of the darkness of, "Keep walking."
Good afternoon to you two. I borrow some of your time? Just quick question. I'm in some need of assistance on a job, and I just need a few minutes. I'll be out of your hair in a moment.
It's the figure that makes their way towards you, and as they step forward, you see that it's likely Sabina, woman in her late 20s to early 30s, in a very kind of very rough and worn. You notice same blue and white striped jumper, with certainly some decided blood spatters on it. Unlikely it's her blood.
Hello, ma'am. Oh, yes. I'm looking for some coward who flown away from I'm in the south or the north of the district right now.
You are in. Ooh, where would this be? This would be following the route that when he was last seen. So you're way up in the sheets now, in the northwest.
Okay. There was a big fight earlier, and one of the person involved decided to take off, and I need to find him. I give her a quick description. He is working, was working for someone who would like to get some answers about what happened.
My memory is really, really hazy.
And I'm sure I meant to make it clearer, and I give her 1 point.
Yeah, well.
And I make sure, as I do, that she can see that I have a pistol.
Okay, she, it's as she pockets it, you can see that she has one as well. It just makes
sure that she doesn't get any ID.
Yeah, but as she pockets it, it's all come flooding back to me. I remember it like it was yesterday. Well, yeah, I know what happened there. It was some very, very fancy lady, you know. She seemed to have some ties. It all came from Her Royal Highness, likely referring to Erin, who is one of the disputed leaders of the Billhooks. Came from Her Royal Highness, but said that there was going to be something moving, that we had a friend in on it. All we had to do was intercept it. So yeah, in regards to the your courier, sorry, you're a little bit too late. That's your clairvoyant.
Yeah.
I think he's at Bellwether, I think. But yeah, like I say, we did what we were employed to do. We took it back, and like I say, Erin was having this conversation with someone who real fancy. Didn't belong in Charlo, that's for sure.
So not here for the stolen goods. It's not interest for me. But say you went to intercept it. What was it doing there? Did you? Were you disturbed during your job by a certain man? A lot of scars. Pick up a fight with one of the protectors. Was he with you? Or
oh yeah. No, we our interests sometimes align.
Oh, sure.
He was in for a bit of a paycheck himself.
Yeah, like everyone here, aren't we? Well, it's been very informative. Thank you for your time, and it was very helpful. And I'm going back, making sure to still have her in my sight, that she can follow me.
Yeah, she doesn't move. She watches you go, just like props herself up against the wall. And when she's confident you're gone, at least towards the end of the alleyway, she turns back and rejoins the game. Yeah. And you just hear her voice kind of going, well, double or nothing.
Don't know enough about this game.
You certainly know at least something from the papers. They are notoriously violent. They're one of the few gangs that will openly just murder. They have quite a speculated, obviously this one isn't so much reported on, but they have something of a relationship with the Bluecoats, meaning they can get away with it. But yeah, they are famously brutal.
Yeah, that's Corbin must be very desperate to associate with them. Can't really do that on my own, I think. So I'm going back to the hideout And maybe my friends could have some ideas or some information about that gang or that very strange lady.
Absolutely. Gabriel, as the hour draws in and there's the final glimmer on the horizon, as that fleeting glimpse of the sun at dusk, before darkness is replaced by yet more darkness, you arrive back at the hideout, just as Katerina is closing up shop for the day.
I suppose I should use one of those coins that we got to go ahead and pay rent. so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. I haven't marked anything off yet, so she sort of judges by the feel of it. It's appreciated.
The roof over my head's appreciated, Gabriel says with a wry smile and heads on up.
And as you make your way inside, you find yourself alone in the room for a bit. There's a quiet peace for the time being.
Gabriel is actually just gonna kind of look out the lone window that we have, just kind of looking out over Crow's Foot. He's still working out some stuff in his head. There are certain issues that he's still currently dealing with that honestly are just probably a fact of his life now. Doesn't make it any more comfortable, that thought, though, that it's just how things are going to always be. So he's gonna kind of spend the time lost in thought, pondering over his own being, so to speak, I guess is the best way to phrase it, without getting way too political. Or not political, philosophical, there we go, that's the word.
Absolutely. And as you stand there looking out into the rain and through the windows, it spatters down on the glass. Lottie, you enter Gabriel doesn't even seem to notice you entering, as he is like somewhat lost in his thoughts.
Just approach very silently and say, "Hi!" Very loudly. Not too close, like not in a range to get a punch in the face, but clearly still a bit too close.
Thankfully you said not within range, because Gabriel does attempt to swing.
Wheels around, and this you see like there's that pulse and the tension in the neck, that vein going in the neck.
Okay, we're gonna have to have a talk about not doing that to people. As Gabriel, heaves, trying to catch his breath.
You were really deep in thought.
And he kind of shakes his head. Enough about that. He kind of looks around the room. Have you noticed this place has gotten a lot emptier recently?
I wonder where did it all go. I haven't talked to Omen in ages, which is kind of weird, I have to say.
And then
We hang out sometimes already.
And then
Been busy.
we got all these chairs for Hestia, and she marveled at them once, and then after marveling at them once, I guess she was like, okay, good, we got chairs, we're done.
Work here is finished.
No. She isn't even there to enjoy them. It's quite sad.
Heck,
I
even
brought pillows.
Brolin's been missing, and that's odd.
Yeah.
Haven't seen him since
I
that
mean-
whole ordeal.
Yeah, but that's kind of an... I can see why he wouldn't come here for a bit. No.
He's out there looking for his dignity. Cannot find it.
I guess I'm made of sterner stuff, but what brings you around?
I was looking for... hoping that there will be someone here. I have found, well, kind of a new job, bounty, about, you heard of that Corbin guy, there's his face on every poster. And I've got a lead, with, like, today, and went after it, and it was interesting. He got involved in a fight, which, why would you do that if you're on the run? And turns out he associated with that, what's the name of the gang again?
Billhooks.
With the Billhooks. You've heard about them?
Well, let's take this a step back first. The fact that you were able to get any sort of leads on Corbin is nothing but impressive. I'm assuming Gabriel would have at least heard of that name.
Yeah, it's wanted posters sometimes plastered up on corners, especially when something, even if he's nothing to do with it, he's certainly a face to blame.
One of those. Fair enough.
He's done enough that he even if he's not guilty, he's probably guilty.
Gabriel kind of just nods, and it's just like, so congratulations on that. As for the Billhooks, of course I've heard of them. We worked in the same field for a long time.
Well, he did work with them on. He tried. They went to steal, attack and steal some stuff that was moving through the city. Stuff that belonged to a woman named Faye. Didn't have anything else.
Gabriel's gonna think for a second.
The only thing I got for her that she's fancy and she's weird. That doesn't narrow anything down, if you ask me.
So the very affluent, well-to-do, that wasn't they. That was somebody else who employed the Billhooks to intercept. Two different.
Okay. They just weird.
Yeah, Vey.
Just weird. Yes. Yeah.
So Vey, is that a name that I would have ran across? Sorry, as a spiner.
Yeah. Yes, and it's... I don't know if you've seen it.
The picture.
No, I just sent you a message.
Oh no, I have not seen that.
That one's in private.
That's not good.
You've heard both Flint. You've heard Flint talk about her. You've heard Arabella talk about her. There's chatter in quite a lot of chat in Six Towers, and of course in Night Market, where she is located.
Well, I'd highly recommend that you just don't. No, just drop that particular lead right off the get-go. I know where she's at. She's in Night Market, but, like, I don't know why you'd want to see a dimmer witch.
That's getting weirder because the Billhooks were hired to steal her stuff by another lady, a rich lady, and that's one very she was very nice. I had a lovely chat with that girl, and she told me it was something that was decided by Her Highness, which it sounds very sarcastic.
Referring. You know that their royal majesty. They quite often use that for like whoever runs the gang. So in this case, it's Erin who you've had the run-in with before. Gabriel.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Well, since they said Highness, I'm assuming that's Erin. I'm at least on speaking terms with her.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I was planning to go say hi and ask why they target that particular weird woman. But also, it seems like Corbin doesn't really work for them. He just happened to be there and needing money. And I was thinking in just getting him out of his den, giving him an opportunity and see if he bites the bait.
Now there's something. Gabriel kind of gets a smile on his face. How much coin you got on you?
She just...
3.
I paid my new friend, I'm afraid, to clear her memory.
So I just paid our rent, so we're sitting at about 5 coin. I mean, we could... There's 3 ways I see we could do this, and I'll leave it up to you. We can go talk to Erin. We could go talk to this they person. You can see Gabriel shift uncomfortably mentioning that one. Or we can go straight in and see if we can't fish him out by putting up some sort of fake job. Well, yes, it'll probably work. I'm not sure if it would reach his ears and we'd have to deal with other applicants. And I don't necessarily want to hold interviews.
Yes, especially for something fake. I mean, there's a way we could do that, but I would understand if you were not interested or if you deemed that too dangerous, but we could associate with both of these ladies. They probably want revenge, and Erin did got in contact with Corbin. So if we offers an opportunity to they, and I don't know how we could possibly do that, but we can get the word of the fake job to Erin. Might do the trick, but that would mean associate with somebody very dangerous and anger somebody else notoriously very dangerous.
So either we get stabbed with a knife, or get cut with a cleaver or have our soul ripped out. Sounds like a lovely day.
I mean, that veiled lady probably wouldn't try to harm us if we offer help, but
I mean,
maybe not literally, like might take an ear or some toes, but
never know with those
I don't know what
arcane type people. They might think liberating your soul is payment for a job well done. They might see it as a benefit. I don't know. If you want to hit both of these at the same time, I'm okay with going after. Ooh, I need to be careful with my words. Going to talk with Erin. As stated, she has no reason to immediately put me underneath the knife.
If that's okay with you, but I think this one we would need a solid plan first. Especially if the others are not here. Where is Omen when you need him?
If I had to guess, he's teaching a class. Because he has a real job. And Gabriel goes like this when he says the word real.
Yeah.
Learning? Who needs learning?
But
Good stuff, more crime.
But yes, I think right now the main thing we need is information.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, firstly, what kind of job or thing would be interesting enough for that man to accept to take a look at it? Because if you're on the run, you wouldn't like go after the first thing. It would need to be particularly rewarding, right?
Having Gabriel begins to speak, having been on the run, and then he immediately stops. He takes a deep breath. Just because you're on the run doesn't mean you don't need money.
Sure, but what I was saying, of course, that just
being selective.
You would be extra careful. Be sure that it's worth it, especially when you're in his position where everybody is looking for him, like every bounty enters, every blue coats. He has his face everywhere.
Well, if he's working with the Billhooks, so that immediately gives him a level of safety from the blue coats.
Yeah, sure.
Because they can make sure that the blue coats aren't in the area when whatever it is goes down. There wasn't a body necessarily left. Yes, one was killed, but it wouldn't have been attached to him. It would be attached to the blue coats. This is a relatively low risk for him if it was just snatching a thing, turning it over to the blue coats.
Billhooks.
Billhooks.
Yeah. Don't worry.
And the blue coat did interfere this time. Yeah. He was noticed by them and he ran. Like, this is how I knew he was here. He was seen by the blue coats. Like, not just the blue coats, everybody in the area. He attacked. What's the word for that? It's like a convey. a thing with wheels and stuff on it.
Carriage.
And
Cart.
Carriage, yeah.
yeah, in the middle of the day, that's something that was protected, something who belonged to, well, a creepy person. And he was seen and, like, brought the light by 1,000 of people. That's kind of weird. Especially if the specialty of the Billhooks is no blue coats around.
Usually means something went wrong.
Yeah.
Gabriel kind of says, I mean, I know somebody in the blue coats that might have an archive on it, but they're not going to be that helpful. Jaron. They're a blue coat archivist. I probably shouldn't be poking my head in. If you want to, that one would be something you'd have to do.
Yeah, I could go there, but I think we shouldn't focus on what went wrong, and instead be aware that it could mean that he doesn't trust the Billhooks as much as he used to. If things went south, he might be a bit cold to the idea of associating with them again.
You have just finished listening to this week's episode of Blades in the Dark, What Happens in the Dusk, part of the Domain Gaming, written and told by Wyverian and Livespark. A special thanks to you, the listener, and if you wish to continue supporting us, subscribe, like, and share. As always, comments are welcome. Until the next chapter, remember the first rule of a con. Offer them everything for nothing, and give them nothing for everything.